Yeah, I saw Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2. Dawn continues breaking. If you somehow don't know what Twilight looks like, this is what Twilight looks like.
I've had a bad habit of underestimating you. Every obstacle you faced, I think you couldn't overcome it.
Well, normally I spend the next 2 minutes giving you myriad reasons to not watch the movie that I just put myself through. But there's no real point in this case because there's no fence sitters with Twilight. If you were planning on seeing it, you've probably already seen it. If you're not planning on seeing it, you probably never will. What I will try to do is give you an idea of what I've experienced watching Twilight for the very first time. I'd never read a book, never seen a movie. From what I gather, the cast of a Melrose Place reboot got attacked by a horde of well-dressed vampires, turning them into vampires. They all moved to a pretty cabin in the woods where they make out and hunt wolves together, which sounds idyllic. Now at some point though, a bunch of giant wolves turned into shirtless 20-year-old men and tried to have sex with the pretty vampires, setting off some big war. In the middle of this, there was a pouty, angry teenager who evidently hates her dad because she went between bestiality and necrophilia, which is just the worst kind of daddy revolt imaginable. So I suppose the handsome, brooding vampire eventually won out over the handsome, brooding werewolf. I don't know if that's a spoiler alert. Somehow the vampire impregnated the girl who hates her dad, because despite lacking any blood in their veins, vampires are evidently full of semen. So the final chapter, from what I gather, revolves around the lead council of vampires who are not into mixed blood children and have a habit of throwing them into bonfires. That's bad. So the pretty vampires in the cabin round up all their pretty friends from around the globe to stage some protest, which obviously is going to turn into a great big fight. The fun thing with the fighting though is that they basically go to a big lake and try to pop each other's heads off, because that's how you kill a Twilight vampire. It's sort of like decapitating a Barbie doll. It's like a little socket joint, and you sort of go thunk and it comes right out. This happens a ton in Breaking Dawn. So the first hour and a half honestly is incredibly boring. It's just bad dialogue, and they're all reminiscing about, oh, the time I fought in the American Revolution and this sort of thing. But the last half hour, when they get to the head popping and the fire and the wolves and stuff, it's pretty fun. Even I kind of enjoyed it. So honestly, if you're into this stuff, you're probably going to enjoy Breaking Dawn Part 2. It's a great big finale with a romantic montage and everything. But if you're not, it's a surprisingly cheap looking 2 hours without nearly enough soft focus sex scenes to justify all of the tedium. For a little more intimate play-by-play account of me losing my Twilight virginity, head to RyersonianTV and check out the live blog I filed from the back of the theater. And be sure to tune in next week for the final edition of What Not to Watch.